Good morning, everyone. I hope you're well and enjoying your time at home. It was good to hear from some of you last week about some of the things that you did, that you shared to cheer different people up. I thought I'd actually share a couple of them with you this morning just to start our worship off. So first of all, here's Nancy's lovely picture for her granddad, who's at home inside on his own. I'm sure that that beautiful sunshine, those bright flowers would have really brightened up his day. So well done, Nancy. And one of you actually even sent a message to your teacher. I know that Mrs. Clark was absolutely delighted when she received this brilliant letter from Rocco. What fantastic writing, Rocco. Well done for brightening up somebody's day with your sharing. It's really good. Now, the school value we're going to be thinking about today is part of our achievement purpose. We want to be the best that we can be in everything that we do, don't we? And one way that we can do this is through our aspirations. Aspirations are our hopes for the future. They're often things that we'd like to achieve either in the near future or the far future. And today I'm going to be asking you to think about some of the things that you might like to achieve whilst we are in lockdown. To help us to do that, I'm going to tell you a Bible story. It's all about someone who had very high aspirations. It's one of the most famous stories in the Bible. It's the story of David and Goliath. Okay, here we go. This is a story about a boy called David. David had 7 big brothers. And they all lived in a land called Israel, which you'll probably have heard of, with their dad, whose name was Jesse. Now, one day, some people from another land picked a fight with the king of Israel. So David's 7 big brothers went off to help the king to win the war. But they left David at home. "You're too small to fight in the army, Squirt," they said. "You stay here and look after the sheep." Bah! You see, David's 7 big brothers thought that looking after sheep was a boring job. But David knew better. Sometimes lions and bears would try to eat the sheep. And David would chase them away. And when there weren't any lions or bears, David would sing songs to God to tell him how much he loved him. When David's 7 big brothers had been away for a long time, their father Jesse began to worry about them. So he gave David some bread and some cheese and sent him off to find them. David walked down paths, he ran through fields, and he swam across rivers until at last he found his 7 big brothers and all their friends and the king of Israel camping on a hill by a stream. On the other side of the stream was another hill, and there were people from another land, but there wasn't any fighting going on. "What's all this?" asked David. "Why aren't you fighting our enemies?" David's 7 big brothers looked very frightened. They pointed across the stream to the other hill and whispered, Goliath! David looked where they were pointing, but all he could see were 2 hairy trees. "Wait a minute," thought David. "Those aren't trees. Those are giant legs." David looked up and saw 2 giant knees. He looked up some more and he saw a giant belt. He looked up even further and he saw a giant chest. And then he looked up as far as he could and saw a giant face. It was the biggest, most ugly face that David had ever seen. "That's Goliath," said David's 7 big brothers. At that very moment, Goliath opened his giant mouth and began to roar. Come on, you cowards! I dare ya! I dare ya to fight me! I dare anyone to fight me! Or are you chicken? On David's side of the stream, nobody moved. They were all too scared. What's the matter with you lot? David asked his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 big brothers. Don't you know that God is on our side? And God is even bigger than Goliath. If you ask me, that giant is too big for his boots. Well, I'm not going to let him get away with it. When the king of Israel heard what David was saying, he sent for him at once. Now listen, the king began. You can't fight this man. You're only a boy. I'm not afraid, your majesty, David told him. I've been looking after my father's sheep, and whenever lions and bears tried to steal them, God helped me to fight them off. I know God will help me to beat Goliath too. Well, if you're sure, said the king, but take my armour and my helmet and my sword to protect you. But the king's armour was too big for David, and with the helmet on his head and the sword around his waist, he could hardly move. So he took them off and left them behind as he marched down the hill to meet Goliath. On the way, he stopped at the stream, picked 5 smooth stones from the water and put them into his shepherd's bag. When Goliath saw David coming, he began to laugh. Is that the best you can do? You send a little boy to fight a mighty warrior like me? Pathetic! I'll eat him for breakfast. But David wasn't scared. In his hand, he was holding his shepherd's sling. It was like a rope belt with a pocket in the middle, just the right size for a stone. David reached into his bag and pulled out one of the stones he'd taken from the stream. He popped it into the pocket and began to swing the sling around and around above his head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7! The stone whizzed through the air and it hit the giant right in the middle of the forehead. Goliath opened his eyes wide and fell down, dead. David's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 big brothers and all their friends and the king of Israel cheered and cheered. And when the people from another land saw that their giant had been killed, they just ran away. That evening, the king of Israel sent for David again. Jolly well done, young man, he said. But how could you be so sure that God would help you? Well, your majesty, David replied, I'm a shepherd, and I always look after my sheep, and I reckon God's my shepherd, and he'll always look after me. What a great story, isn't it? David, just a shepherd boy, the youngest of 8 brothers, just out to deliver his brother's sandwiches. But he didn't let that lower his aspirations. He really wanted to be the best that he could be, and he wanted to make a positive difference to the world he lived in. And what a difference he made, beating the giant champion of the enemy. It's important, isn't it, that we aim high in life. Whatever we're doing, we want to be the best that we can be. David was a shepherd boy, but he had aspirations to be a great soldier and to save his people. Just because he'd never fought in a battle before, he didn't let that stop him. He just used what he already knew to do a new thing. Now, one of the things that I've noticed about lockdown is that even though I'm still very busy with work, I'm still spending a lot more time at home. Normally, throughout the week, I'm taxiing my children to scouts or orchestra or cricket practice or athletics or choir or band practice or kids club at church, or I'm heading off to church myself. And at the moment, all of that stopped because it's had to. So, like pretty well everyone, I'm finding that I've got much more time at home with my family. So I've been enjoying some cricket in the garden with Tom, my younger son, although the way he's bowling at the moment feels more like I'm facing Jofra Archer. I've got plenty of bruises on my body. We're also working our way through all of the Doctor Who episodes, one per night, with Joe, my eldest. And I've been reading some great books with Rosie. But I've also started some new things, learning things that I've never done before. Of course, one part of our Smile, 5 ways to well-being, ways of looking after our mental health, is the L of Smile, which is all about learning something new. There are 2 or 3 things that I've been doing. In particular, I've learned how to use iMovie, which is what I'm doing at the moment on my phone, to put together our worship times on a Monday. And I've actually also started learning how to play the piano. Lots of you will know that I already play the tuba, big brass instrument, but I can't play with my band at the moment either, at the Salvation Army. So I've taken the chance to learn a new instrument. I've actually bought an app for my phone, which is great, and I'm working my way through a lesson or 2 a day. It's not easy. I'm not very good at it yet, but I am making progress. Rosie's also doing the same thing, although she started before me and she's actually a bit ahead of me, so I'm trying to catch her up at the moment. But learning something new has really been good for me. I'm really enjoying that feeling of achieving, however small the steps might be on the way to my achievements. I have to say there is the odd day when I don't feel like having a practice. There's the odd day when I find a particular piece of music really, really tough and I just keep getting it wrong and I get a bit frustrated. But I'm trying to make sure I use one of our other values when that happens. I wonder if you can guess what that other value is. I bet you can. It's perseverance. I keep on going. That's what I'm trying to make sure I do, even when it's tough. Now, I'm going to do something very brave now. Perhaps it's another one of our values, confidence. I'm not sure I've got loads of confidence in this, but I'm going to do something brave because I'm going to treat you to my first ever concert on the piano. So this is a world premiere for you. As I said, I've only been learning a couple of weeks and you'll be able to tell. I'm very slow. I'll almost certainly make a mistake or 2. I'm not as good as Rosie. I'm definitely not as good as Mrs. Street. And the tune I'm playing is actually very simple. But nevertheless, it does represent a lot of hard work from me in the last week or 2. So I'm proud of what I've achieved so far. So here goes. Oh, and it's also a Christmas tune. So happy Christmas. Okay, here we go. This is Joy to the World, hopefully. So, hope you enjoyed that. While most of you are not in school, why not do as I've done? See it as an opportunity to learn something new. I really want you all to keep mentally healthy as well as physically fit. Learning something new can be a great way of doing that, or sometimes of doing both. Rosie's not only learning the piano, she's also been doing lots of baking and learning lots of new recipes, which has been great from my point of view as well. Tom's also learned how to use iMovie, like me. He's creating lots of great videos at the moment. In the book of Isaiah, in the Bible, we're told not to cling to events of the past, but that God is going to do a new thing. Why not take this chance to do a new thing yourself. Or if not a new thing, then set your aspirations high and see if you can work to something that you've done for a long time, but you want to get better at. Maybe it's time to get into painting or art or crafts or music. Get that instrument out, practice lots and lots. Or sport, go and work in the garden at whatever it is you want to get better at. Or fitness. I'd love to know what you're aiming high in and what your aspirations are, how you're spending your time. Next week, during our worship time, I would love to include some video clips or photos of you working to achieve your aspirations. Whether it's something new that you're doing, or whether you're aiming to be better and better at something that is a hobby of yours or something that you've done for a long time. I don't mind. Please, though, what I would like you to do is to email me either photos or videos that show you doing those things at home at the moment or out and about if you're on your daily walk. I'll try to fit you into our worship next week. Keep the videos to 10 seconds or less. Make sure you've got your mum or dad's permission to share them and for them to be on our video. Wouldn't it be great if we can all share our aspirations, and hopefully if we do get to show them next week, you'll also inspire each other and give each other ideas as to things you could be doing with your time. Now it's time to share one of your prayers from our prayer book. This week, of course, it's linked to this week's value, which is aspiration. This beautiful prayer comes from one of our worship leaders, Lauren, in Year 6. So shall we pray? Dear God, let happiness fill us up with joy, and let there be peace here always. Let us grow to be the best we can, and let us rise to our fullest potential. Push us further so our confidence can grow and so we can do things we've never imagined. Let us pursue our dreams, and let us always have a dream to dream. Let our hearts, our brains and our minds be happy and healthy. Thank you, Lord. Amen. Okay, thank you to Lauren for those inspirational words. Okay, so then please send me by email your photos or your 10-second or less videos showing me what your aspirations are and what you're doing with your time to work towards them at the moment. Whether they're big or small, I really don't mind. Just love to know what you're up to at the moment. Look forward to seeing it. God bless you all.